have to say either it already was illegal or it should be illegal, either it already was unethical or should be unethical. And this kind of post-mortem is to keep it from happening again. And to a great extent, that's what my committee has to do.
Well, Congressman Darrell Issa of California on his new role as chairman of the powerful House Oversight Committee as the Crimson Tide sweeps the House. Will the GOP live up to its promise of investigations and bring with it a new era of transparency and accountability in a government run amok? Earlier, Congressman Issa told us he'll be on the case from investigating backroom deals in health care to backroom deals on housing finance.
We're going to try and get as much real investigation that shows what would health care have looked like if not for promises made to certain stakeholders. And one of the things that I'm going to offer very early on in the new Congress is new authority for inspector generals, new authority for transparency in government, new reporting requirements in a way in which the public can get access to what their government's doing. Because I'm going to need literally every American to help scrutinize waste, fraud, and abuse in government.
Well, keep in mind that man will soon have the power to subpoena officials in the Obama administration and investigate any federal program or policy that would include all the money that currently sits potentially fraudulently at Fannie and Freddie, hiding the bank theft of past years. Here to mix it up from healthcare to housing, Ari Melber, correspondent for The Nation magazine, and J.C. Watts, former Republican congressman from Oklahoma. Pleasure to have you both. Ari, I'll start with you sitting here with me. How will we know whether Issa is credible in his investigations and yielding out answers to the theft and cover-up from the banking frauds over the past few years, in yielding real answers to the backroom deals with drug companies, hospitals, and insurance companies conducted by during the healthcare debate, and how will we know if it's just a witch hunt playing politics?
Well, luckily there's an app for this, Dylan.
Oh, really?
We have an app.
Really?
Yeah, and it's called a calendar.
Okay.
And when you see Congressman Issa, who has every right to run strong and thorough subpoena-led investigations.
I would hope he would.
But when you look at that calendar, if you see a lot of the stuff seems to curiously start with Obama taking office.
Right.
And seems to end right around the midterms we just had, that's going to look bad. Obviously, he's got it.
So in other words, all jokes aside, if he's willing to investigate back into the Bush administration for the financial, which is when all the financial deals were cut, if he's willing to investigate healthcare, is in those 2 years, and that is not something that. How would you have Darrell Issa investigate backroom deals by the Obama administration with the drug companies?
Well, my point is, if he's only doing that for these 2 years, if he's only interested in getting Barack Obama, and say yes, some of the financial stuff goes back further, and the question is he only looking at the recent stuff?
Understood.
I'll tell you what else goes back further: the targeting of American citizens potentially for assassination without due process.
Yeah.
That's a problem under both presidents. Is he going to look at both recent administrations? It doesn't have to be partisan to say that you have to include Bush. I'm not just saying that as a Bush thing.
It's a calendar thing.
But it's an app thing. It's the calendar.
JC, how do you interpret, again, credible investigations of everything ranging from torture to financial fraud to backroom deals for health care and just a political witch hunt using the investigative gavel?
Well, Dylan, I would surely discourage Republicans and Democrats both, not to do this for political reasons. I think we've seen this. Hey, if the officials are calling bad calls for the other team or against the other team, they're great officials. If they're calling bad calls against my team, then they're horrible officials, and we've made politics a sport, and I think we need to get away from that. I think there's room, and I feel like I know Darrell Issa well enough that if he's going to look into it, I would be first in line to say, hey, the statute of limitations wouldn't be out concerning the Bush administration. So, let's, if we're going to try to get to the truth, and if we think there's some improper things that have happened, I would say there's room probably for Republicans and Democrats, or the Republican and Democrat administrations. If that's, if we're going to do it, let's just follow the facts, and if it goes into Republicans or if it goes into Democrats, so be it.